Dude, you have to admit, something absolutely insane is happening right now. Like, have you actually taken a step back to look at what is going on in the world of finance? Because if you haven't, you are missing the weirdest show on earth. There's this thing called Bitcoin, and unless you've been living under a rock for the last decade, you've heard the noise. But the noise is so conflicting. Depending on who you listen to, it's either the greatest technological breakthrough since the internet, or it's a giant steaming pile of scams. Just look at the absurdity of it for a second. You have serious financial analysts going on TV saying this is the future. And then, in the same breath, you have people realizing that a digital coin, literally named after an internet meme of a Shiba Inu dog, is somehow worth more than the Ford Motor Company. You heard me right. A joke coin is worth more than the company that invented the assembly line. That sounds absolutely delusional, right? Like it has to be a bubble. It has to be fake. But then you flip the channel. You go on Twitter and you see these profiles with laser eyes. You have CEOs of publicly traded companies buying billions of dollars of this. You have people screaming HODL and predicting the collapse of the US dollar. It's chaotic. It's polarizing. It makes you want to either buy in or run for the hills. But honestly, I think most people, even the ones shouting the loudest, are asking the wrong questions. They're all asking, why is the price going up? Or is it a bubble? To really understand this, we need to stop looking at the price ticker. We need to pull back the curtain. We need to put Bitcoin on trial. Because when you actually look at the technology, philosophy, and the dark underbelly of what's fueling this, the story gets way crazier than just number go up. So, grab your drink. Let's break this down from the beginning. No BS. First, let's get rid of the magic internet money stigma and look at what this actually is. At its core, Bitcoin is incredibly simple. It's a ledger. That's it. It's a list of transactions. Think about your bank account. When you open your banking app, you see a list. I spent $50 at the grocery store. I sent $20 to Mike. That is a ledger. Now, in the traditional world, the bank owns that ledger. They're the referee. If you try to send me $100, but you only have $50 in your account, the bank steps in and says, nope, transaction rejected. We trust the bank to keep the score. They are the central authority. But in 2008, right in the middle of the massive housing market crash, when nobody trusted banks, this mysterious person, or group, named Satoshi Nakamoto published a paper. They proposed a way to keep a ledger without the bank. No referee, no government, just a decentralized network. Instead of a bank validating the transaction, a network of thousands of computers around the world would do it. They would all vote on whether a transaction is valid. If everyone's ledger matches, the transaction goes through. It gets locked into a digital block, and that block gets changed to the history of all previous blocks, hence the blockchain. It sounds perfect, right? Power to the people. But this is where the first major criticism comes in. The skeptics, the Warren Buffetts, the Bill Mahers, they always say the same thing. Where is the intrinsic value? They say it's not gold, you can't wear it. It's not a house, you can't live in it. It's essentially air. And that's a fair point. But let me ask you something else. Why is the dollar bill in your pocket valuable? It's a piece of cotton and linen blend. It has no value other than the fact that the government says it does, and we all collectively agree to trust the government. That's called fiat currency. It relies on the stability of the state. Bitcoin flips that. It says, don't trust the government, trust the code. It relies on math. But, and here is where the story starts to get messy, relying on code isn't as utopian as it sounds, because code is rigid, and Bitcoin has some skeletons in its closet that diehard fans don't like to talk about. For example, there has been a civil war inside Bitcoin, a literal ideological war. It's called the Blocksize War. See, when Satoshi Nakamoto built Bitcoin, he put in a constraint. Each block of transactions on the chain can only be 1 megabyte in size, and the system is programmed so that a new block is only created roughly every 10 minutes. Now, do the math with me. 1 megabyte every 10 minutes. That means the Bitcoin network can only process about 4.6 transactions per second. 4.6. Now compare that to Visa. Visa handles over 24,000 transactions per second. You see the problem. If Bitcoin is supposed to be the future of money that we all use to buy coffee, how is it going to handle the whole world on 4.6 transactions a second? It can't. So this split the community in two. On one side, you had the big blockers. They argued, we need to update the code, make the blocks bigger, we need to scale up to be like Visa. On the other side, you had the small blockers, and their argument was actually fascinating. They said, no,
If we make the blocks huge, the file size of the blockchain becomes massive. If the blockchain is massive, you need a supercomputer to run it. And if you need a supercomputer, regular people can't run the network. Only big corporations will run it. And then we just become the banks again. They chose decentralization over speed. But that choice left Bitcoin slow and clunky. And that's just the design flaw. That's not even the ethical nightmare. Shift tone to something more serious, maybe a bit darker. We have to talk about the energy. You remember a while back when Elon Musk was all about Bitcoin. Tesla bought a $1.5 billion worth. They started accepting it for cars. The price skyrocketed. Then, out of nowhere, Elon tweets, Tesla has suspended vehicle purchases using Bitcoin. Boom. The price tanked from the high 50,000s down to the 40,000s in a heartbeat. Why? Because he realized how much fossil fuel the network burns. To understand why it burns energy, you have to understand proof of work. Remember I said the computers vote on transactions? Well, to stop someone from cheating and casting 1 million votes, the system forces the computers to do work. It's basically a lottery. All these computers, called miners, are racing to solve a wildly complex numerical problem. The only way to solve the problem is by guessing billions of numbers a second. It takes raw computational power. The first computer to solve the puzzle gets to validate the block and, crucially, gets paid in new Bitcoin. Because the price of Bitcoin is so high, this lottery is worth millions. So now people aren't just mining on their laptops. You have massive industrial warehouses, literal airplane hangars filled with thousands of specialized supercomputers running 24/7, generating heat, humming like jet engines just to guess these numbers. Get this. The University of Cambridge did a study showing that the Bitcoin network consumes more electricity annually than the entire country of Argentina. Think about that. A digital coin using more power than a nation of 45 million people. Now, the defenders will jump in here. They'll say, hey, the banking system uses energy too. Think of all the bank branches and ATMs. Or they'll say miners are moving to renewable energy, like hydro, because it's cheaper. And that's true to an extent. Maybe 39% to 70% of mining uses renewables. But nobody knows for sure. It's an opaque industry. And ethically, with climate change looming, it's a massive cloud hanging over the future of money.
But wait, if you think the environmental stuff is shady, wait until you hear about the whales and the market manipulation. This is where it starts to feel like a conspiracy thriller. We like to think Bitcoin is distributed among the people, but in reality, the wealth is shockingly concentrated. There are these entities called whales. We're talking about wallet addresses that hold thousands upon thousands of Bitcoin. There are Twitter accounts purely dedicated to tracking these whales. When a whale moves money, the market holds its breath. And the biggest whale of all? Satoshi Nakamoto, the creator. Analysts estimate that Satoshi mined about 1 million Bitcoin in the early days when it was easy. 1 million. That is nearly 5% of the total supply that will ever exist. Those coins haven't moved in over a decade. But imagine if they did. Imagine if one person decided to dump 1 million Bitcoin on the market tomorrow. The price would go to zero. The entire economy is resting on the hope that this anonymous ghost never cashes out. And it gets darker. In 2019, a professor at the University of Texas named John Griffin and a student named Amin Shams published a paper that blew the lid off the market. The paper was titled, Is Bitcoin Really Untethered? They weren't looking at Bitcoin directly. They were looking at another cryptocurrency called Tether. Okay, quick sidebar. Tether is what's called a stablecoin. It's a crypto token that is supposed to be worth exactly $1. Always. Traders use it to move money in and out of Bitcoin quickly without going back to a bank. But this paper alleged something terrifying. They found patterns suggesting that billions of tethers were being printed out of thin air, unbacked by real dollars, and then used to buy Bitcoin. Think about what that means. If I print fake money and use it to buy an asset, the price of that asset goes up. The paper argued that a huge chunk of Bitcoin's price rise in 2017 was artificial. It was manipulation. This wasn't just a theory. The New York Attorney General actually launched an investigation into the companies behind Tether. They found that for periods of time, Tether was not fully backed by dollars. They were moving money around to cover holes in their balance sheet. They ended up settling and paying an $18.5 million fine. Tether is still huge today. It provides most of the liquidity in the market. So you have to ask yourself, how much of the current price is real and how much is built on a house of cards?
So let's recap the case against Bitcoin. It's slow, 4.6 transactions a second, it's incredibly inefficient, burning as much energy as Argentina, it's highly concentrated in the hands of whales, and its price might be propped up by shadow banking manipulation via Tether. Sounds like a disaster, right? Sounds like the skeptics are right, and it's all going to zero. But here is the twist. I don't think it's over. In fact, I think this might just be the beginning. To understand why, you have to look at history. Go back to the 1990s, the dot-com bubble. Back then, everyone was going crazy for the internet. People were throwing money at any company with .com in its name. It was mania. You had companies like Pets.com that had no business plan, just a website, and they were valued at millions. And you know what happened? The bubble burst, stocks crashed, people lost fortunes. The skeptics laughed and said, see, the internet was a fad, it's useless. But they were wrong. The scam companies died, yes, but out of the ashes of that crash came Amazon, came Google, came the infrastructure that runs our entire modern lives. The internet wasn't the scam. The speculation was the scam. The technology was revolutionary. That is exactly where we are with crypto right now. Bitcoin might be the Model T Ford. It's the first one. It's clunky, it pollutes, it's slow, but it started something that cannot be stopped. Because of Bitcoin's flaws, we've seen an explosion of innovation. This is the altcoin era. Back in 2014, this 19-year-old genius named Vitalik Buterin looked at Bitcoin and said, this is too limited. It's just a calculator. I want to build a smartphone. So he created Ethereum. Ethereum uses the same blockchain technology, but it's not just for tracking money. It's programmable. You can write code on it. You can build smart contracts, agreements that execute themselves automatically without a lawyer. You can build decentralized apps. You can sell digital art, NFTs. Vitalik realized that blockchain is a platform, not just a currency. And sure, it's the Wild West. You have Dogecoin, which literally started as a joke by two software engineers to make fun of the mania, and it's now worth $50 billion. It's absurd, it's messy. But behind the memes, behind the laser eyes, and behind the scams, the technology is actually evolving. So, do I think Bitcoin is going to be the global currency of the future? Probably not. It's too slow and too energy intensive. But is it a scam? No, it's a story. It's a prototype. We are watching the evolution of money in real time. We are watching a decentralized network try to stand up against the global banking system. It's going to be messy. There will be crashes. There will be lawsuits. The whales might dump their bags. But just like we didn't know in 1999 that the internet would eventually give us streaming video and social media, we don't know what this technology will look like in 10 years. Bitcoin isn't just an asset you buy and sell, it's a movement. It has exposed the flaws in our traditional money, and it has sparked a fire that is burning across the entire tech world. So, laugh at the memes if you want, worry about the energy usage, you should, be skeptical of the price, but don't look away. Because whether it goes to the moon or crashes to zero, this is the most interesting thing happening on the planet right now. And frankly, the story is only just getting started.